Hey, welcome to Leaving Crazytown with Finn and Sarah. Keep it short. Go.
Hi, what's happening, everybody? Listen, we were thinking about a couple things. We're going to bring up a term. It's called being hijacked. And do you want to explain it, Finn, or should
Sure, it's when
we'll both give our little spiel?
It's when you're in an interaction with another human being or situation, and your past trauma, your reaction or whatever is like you get taken over by past trauma.
Yes.
And you're no longer centered and in that peaceful place that we all like to be.
Yes, and the key is you're really not aware of it. So something happens, someone says something or does something, and you, like I say, go offline. You just go offline.
Go offline. That's a good one.
Yeah, you go offline. You just, all your system is thinking, it's like a fight or flight. All your system is thinking is, I need to be safe. I need to get out of here, usually.
Right. And the difference, so Sarah and I talk about getting activated
Yes.
or having like a bump. And that's different because you can actually feel it in your body. You see it and you're like, wow, something's happening here. I don't like what they're saying or I don't like what they're doing. And you can feel it. But when we talk about being hijacked by trauma, you don't know that's happened. It's like that. There's no observation. You're just in it.
Because really, your brain shuts down. There is physiology to all of it. All right. So we're going to give an example. And I love when Finn says, because you guys know when you get activated, you don't react. And we're hoping you guys are getting to that point. When we get activated and we know we're activated, we are responsible. So it's hard because really,
Well, I was thinking more not so much that I don't react to the feelings but I'm aware
it's the awareness.
I'm aware of I was one moment again feeling really good in this conversation and now suddenly I don't feel good. I'm tight, my chest's tight, my stomach hurts. Like that awareness that it shifted to something is what I'm talking about. I'm not saying we don't react by going, well, I'm out of here or whatever. Like you still might do that.
Right.
But you're aware that a shift has happened within your body. And for me, when I get trauma hijacked, I don't even know that's happened.
That's what I mean. All right. So give the example of the trauma hijack.
All right. It's going to sound really lame. I'm just going to say that right up the front. Not because I'm fearful of what you think, but you might not think this is trauma. But for me, it is. So as a young kid, I have a lot of issues around acceptance, being lovable, being good at stuff, and then also a lot of programming around singing and theater and things like that, even though it's something I wanted to do. When I got thrown out, I had a lot of rejection around that. So I'm in the middle of my music lesson and I had written a song and sang it with a friend. And my music teacher was doing a little music and she said, oh, Finn, sing it for me. And I left the building. I was like, no. That was it.
It's not
and
funny, but
I literally, I can remember now how I felt, but while it was happening, I wanted to cry. So my eyes started to fill up. I remember that, and I shut that down faster than hell. Like, I'm not going to cry because somebody asked me to sing, but I got to tell you, I left the building. Anyway, that was...
Right. I feel like you did a little leaping from the wanting to be in theater and music to suddenly you're having music lessons. I mean, not that we need a whole...
Well, no, it's 50 years.
Right.
It's like 50 years later from being kicked out of choir and all these like things as a child that I found very joyful.
Yes.
And now I've walked through the fear to go through this again.
Yes.
And I've struggled with singing in front of people, but I'm doing it. In this particular day, the reason why it was so traumatic in my reflection with my therapist, because it was that traumatic for me, was that I was so excited that I wrote and sang this song that I shared it with my music teacher, and I might not have been ready to do that. And then when she asked me to sing it, all the vulnerability just like creeped in and good night, Irene, because I disappeared.
But that's a great point too, that you felt when you're the vulnerability and to me, the crying, the old wound is getting churned up.
And as a kid, I have a lot of experience where I was really excited about something and my family crushed it. So I expressed excitement to her and then she asked me to sing and I went right into like childhood trauma.
All right, so we do a lot of that here too, where we're connecting. This is good for you guys to think about when you felt hijacked. When you've been hijacked, it's really thinking about, it's not about the present moment, where oftentimes you can like blame someone or, no, when we get hijacked, it's the old trauma getting activated, but we're not aware of it. So how did you deal with it? And then we'll talk about strategy.
Well, at the time, I just said, no, I'm not going to sing. And we ended up working on my piano lesson. And my music teacher said, okay, we'll just table that and we can come back to it. And we did the piano lesson, everything. But I felt really raw and vulnerable. And then all day long, I was trying to figure out why a fear came up in me. And I said no, because anyone who knows me knows that when there's a fear in front of me, I ask for help and I walk through it and I try anyway. And I might say no at first, but usually within minutes, I'm like, oh, it's fear. Like I recognize it's fear and then I walk through it. There was no recognizing anything and I didn't walk through it. So for the rest of the day, I was like, when did I become this person who can't walk through fear? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And it wasn't until I talked about it and looked at what the underlying stuff was that I realized the vulnerability that I was at. And I did not have compassion for myself at all around shutting down and not being able to sing until my therapist pointed out that I didn't have control over what happened.
Right.
I wasn't aware. And then I was able to look back and be like, oh yeah, you're right. Because later I had a situation with Sarah where she activated me a little bit. We were having a conversation, we were both in activation, and I was watching what was happening within my body, very much aware it was my stuff.
Yes.
And I was able to stay in the conversation and not like react in a way like I did in that situation.
Right.
So I was able to see within 24 hours, like the difference between, when I'm aware that I'm being triggered versus trauma hijacking.
Yes.
And so trying to be more compassionate and understand, like I can't go back to yesterday with today's knowledge, so I can't blame myself for where I was at.
Yeah, the whole thing about, and I mean, this is a huge topic probably for a lot of you, is when you start going down the road of like beating yourself up and why did I do that and all that stuff. To me, that obsessive thinking and beating ourselves up is number one, like Finn said, not having compassion for ourselves and realizing, my God, this is like, if this had happened to someone else, you'd have a lot of compassion for that person. And sometimes when we're trying to figure out the answer, geez, why did I? Blah, 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 it's because we're not in touch with the underlying feeling states.
Well, because that's horrifying. I mean, I was like, when I finally let the feeling come up of that whole experience as a kid where whenever I expressed excitement, it was used against me or I was abused with it in some way or crushed. Because I didn't ask for things because of that. I could never let anyone know what I truly wanted. And this music stuff I truly want. Yes. I truly enjoy it.
Yes.
And I'm always on guard that someone's going to use it against me. And I didn't realize that. But that pain when that came up from being a kid. Yeah. I have not had any pain with my music experience. My music teacher is very wonderful. Just encourages me to move forward. Has never said anything critical or whatever, except maybe slow down because I think I have to be an expert after 5 minutes of lessons. But that's not really critical. It's just, a suggestion. So that feeling, it was pretty hard to deal with. And I felt pretty raw for a few days, like very vulnerable when I finally let that pain up. Yes. But I also did switch to gratitude that whole thing happened because I started out, why didn't you walk through it? What's wrong with you? Why are you a baby? And then I went to, why are you not healed already? Like, how many freaking layers of this onion? Like, I want to get to the center of that damn Tootsie Pop and be done with it. Right. To, I'm glad this happened because it's given me an opportunity to feel those feelings. Yes. And maybe I healed a little bit from it.
Absolutely. So a few things. Yes, seeing it as an opportunity, probably like he's saying, later on, seeing it as an opportunity to heal an old wound. Also, when this happens, he said, well, I took 24 hours. So usually what you need to do is feel safe to be able to feel it. So if you need to go to a room in your house where you feel safe, you need to wrap a blanket around yourself, you need to take a shower, if you need to get out of the situation, whatever you need to feel safe because this trauma reaction has gotten triggered. That's really important. And to be really compassionate towards yourself. And also we talk about writing out, geez, what was the old event that got activated? And recognizing it's not about the present moment. We're trying to really, it's both and, right? It's having compassion for yourself, having gratitude, and honoring the wound, the pain from the past, and recognizing that.
Yeah, I mean, I want to curl up in a ball and suck my thumb when those things happen.
Yes, I totally get that. And that is an option, people. That is an option. And if that's helpful, great.
I'm more like the cover, going to the covers.
Yeah. So whatever things help you to feel better, but we're just talking how to sustain, walk through when you're hijacked and feel okay and get to the other side. Because we're leaving Crazy Town fast.
We're out of here.